From 1878 to 1968, there were 71 lake captains that called Bay View, Wisconsin, on the shore of Lake Michigan, their home. While they lived here, they captained 195 different ships, from tugboats to schooners to steamships, in voyages that took them to every one of the Great Lakes. Join us now for another episode of Bay View, Town of Lake Captains, where we explore not only these captains, but also their ships, their homes, their families, and their lifetime of sailing adventures on the Great Lakes.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bay View, Town of Lake Captains, sponsored by the Historic Bay View Lake Captains Society. Now today I'm standing on East Lincoln Avenue in front of the former home of Captain Nels Miller. Now Nels Miller was born in Sweden in 1855. 1855. Now at 21, which is 1876, he's in Milwaukee as a lake captain, 21 years old. Which tells me, not knowing what happened in between those dates, just like the Moorbeck brothers, who were also from Sweden, Nels Miller probably had substantial sailing experience over in Sweden before he came over here. Just a guess, don't know it, but it's pretty likely. Most of them did. You know, in those days, going to sea at 12 was not at all unusual. In fact, we have several Bay View lake captains that did just exactly that. So probably those were his beginnings, to show up here in Milwaukee at 21, already a lake captain. He captained schooners for quite a few years. Actually, over 23 years before he came to Bay View. He's in Walker's Point. Captained several schooners there. Experimented a little bit with steamships. And then he went back to schooners. And when he came back here, he was captain of a schooner. Then after that, he tried to buy some lakefront footage over on the Kinnickinnic River by the 6th Street Bridge, 140 feet of riverfront footage to put in to establish a ship maintenance business, docking, repair, all those kinds of maintenance activities. That's where he was going to go, but he lost the auction bid, and then after that he left for Ashland, Wisconsin, up on Lake Superior. Doesn't appear as though he became involved in maritime up there, but he certainly could have. Just don't know. Anyway, another schooner captain. Most of the schooner captains were up in this part of Bay View, this northwest corner, the sailing captains. And then if you look at the map, which I started out this video with, you'll see that the sailing activity, the sailing captains slowly transitioned to steam as they worked their way south and east further on the other side of Bay View. Most of those were steam by then. So the captain migration starts out here with captains like Nels Miller sailing schooners, and over time, as the years move on and sail moves out and it gets replaced by steam, that's what you see by the time they get over, as they migrate over to the far east side. Most of the captains there, that's what they were. So, real interesting demographic analysis there for you. I know you didn't ask for it, but I gave it to you. So, that's all I have on Nels Miller. More in the video though, or excuse me, more in the narration coming up with Simon Stanhope. So, be sure to stay with the program and watch it all. And I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, hats off to our Bay View Lake captains. Bye-bye.
Welcome to another installment of Bay View, Town of Lake Captains, where we discuss the lives of the 71 different lake captains that once lived in Bay View, Wisconsin, during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, in the age of sail and steam. This discussion will include their ships, their homes, their families, and their lifetime of sailing adventures on the Great Lakes. Here is the map of lake captains' homes in Bay View, to show you where this episode takes place. Its location focuses primarily on the large green arrow. Today we will be discussing the life of Captain Nels P. Miller, who immigrated from Sweden and lived on East Lincoln Avenue in Bay View. He had been a lake captain in Milwaukee since age 21, and remained so for at least 14 years, before moving to Bay View. After a brief time as second mate on steamships, he reverted back to sailing schooners. When he got older, he tried to branch out into the ship maintenance business, but failed in his attempt to buy 140 feet of riverfront footage along the Kinnickinnic River that included a large dock. He then left Bay View and Milwaukee for Ashland, Wisconsin, on Lake Superior, where he remained for the rest of his life. Captain Nels P. Miller was born in Sweden in November 1855, but when he immigrated and how he came to Milwaukee and Bay View is unknown. He first appeared in Milwaukee in 1876, aged 21, already a lake captain, living on the northwest side of the port of Milwaukee. In fact, he is only ever documented in Milwaukee as a lake captain, never as a crewman or junior officer, And, to be sure, 21 is a young age to be a lake captain. This may indicate he was a sailor in Sweden before immigrating, possibly guided and trained by his father, as was the case with several other Bay View lake captains that immigrated from northern Europe, though that is not known. He remained on Milwaukee's northwest side through 1889, 13 years. His street addresses during this period include Oregon, Maple, Park, and Hanover Streets, all as captain until he moved to Bay View. From the time of his arrival in Milwaukee in 1876 until 1899, he served aboard, as captain and as junior officer, the following 4 different ships: the schooner Hetty Taylor, 1876–78, as captain, where he is reported to have been held in high regard by others in the sailing community; the schooner Milton, 1879 to 16th July, 1880, owner and probable captain, and then a move to second mate on the steamship William H. Wolfe, date or dates aboard unknown. However, sometime after the William H. Wolfe was built in 1887, Nels appears to have departed to become captain and owner of the schooner Rob Roy, starting at the latest in 1886 and continuing through 1890. Nels may have wanted to give steamships a try because he knew they were the future. However, he soon realized his real passion remained with schooners. In 1890, Nels Miller, aged 35, moved to 322 East Lincoln Avenue, and his occupation continued as captain. How long he remained in Bay View is undocumented. For the first half of the 1890 sailing season, he continued as 2/3 owner and captain of the schooner Rob Roy, but then financial difficulties forced the schooner's seizure by the U.S. Marshal, and its contents were auctioned off halfway through the sailing season on 7th of August, 1890. 3 years later, in December 1893, Captain Miller put in a bid to buy a dock property on the Kinnickinnic River at the 6th Street Bridge. The property consisted of 32 acres of land, with 140 feet of river frontage. However, he lost the bid. Sadly, having lost the Rob Roy and failed in his attempt to buy the dock on the Kinnickinnic River, Captain Miller appears, though it's a bit sketchy, as is the date, to have left Milwaukee and Bay View permanently in 1900 at the latest, for a new home in Ashland, Wisconsin, on Lake Superior. He appears to have taken this move as an opportunity to pursue a new line of work. He started out as a cook, then settled into a job as a carpenter, railroad shop. His total documented time as a lake captain turned out to be 14 years, 1876 to 1890, only the last year in Bay View. He and first wife Margaret were married in 1872, and they had 2 children. In about 1887 they divorced. Sometime before 1900 he married a second time to Ottilie. They had 3 children and moved to Ashland, Wisconsin. Captain Nels Miller died in Ashland in 1823, age 68. Wife Ottilie died in 1945, age 87. They are buried together at Ashland's Mount Hope Cemetery.
Wait! Stop the presses! I forgot something. I left it out of the script. It's already been recorded. What do? I know, I'll go in and I'll tell you directly what happened and what I forgot to put in the script. I omitted it. My mistake. So here's what's out. What I left out. What I left out was a heroic at-sea rescue during a storm by Captain Nels Miller. Now this is before he came to Bay View, 3 years before he came to Bay View, but it's still significant. At the time, he was captain of the schooner Rob Roy. Now the night of the 2nd of August, 1887, another schooner called the Robbie Knapp was in a big storm out on Lake Michigan, and it capsized, All the crew went into the water, including the captain. But the schooner did not sink. It just capsized, flipped over, and the hull stayed afloat. And so all night long, the crew clung to that hull during the storm. The next day, don't know exactly when, storm still raging, along comes Captain Nels Miller on his schooner, the Rob Roy. And by pure accident, they spot this capsized schooner, they pull over to it, and they see then that the men are all hanging on for dear life. Captain Miller and the Rob Roy pulled them all from the water, took them to Milwaukee, and a few days later, the captain of the Robbie Knapp, the one that overturned, wrote a letter to the Milwaukee newspapers thanking Captain Miller and his crew on the Rob Roy for saving the Robbie Knapp's crew that had clung to the schooner all night. So, just wanted to share that piece of information with you. I'm sorry I left it out of the script. I could not find a picture of the Robbie Knapp, but I did find one of the Rob Roy, which I put up during this segment. So, that's all. Now you can finish the end of the video. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching. This photograph isn't about Bay View or its lake captains, but it's from the same era of Great Lakes maritime history. We thought we'd close with it for enjoyment, as it captures the spirit of the era. If you'd like to read more details about Captain Nels Miller, as well as the sources for the information contained in today's video, you can find these and more in the book Bay View, Town of Lake Captains, for sale now, by individual volumes on both Amazon.com and HenschelHouseBooks.com. All proceeds from book sales go to support various maritime history projects related to Bay View's lake captains. One of these is a plaque and marker with the captains' names and addresses on it as part of the creation of the Bay View Lake Captains Historic District, which will be the first of its kind in America. If you would like to contribute to support these projects, to include this and other markers honouring Bay View's lake captains, with 100% of all donations and contributions in all forms going to support them, please consider contributing to us through the listings found on our website under the Contribute button. Note, we are not a 501c3, so contributions are not tax-deductible. If, for some reason, we are unable to secure these markers, then all funds donated to this site will be given as a cash donation to the museum ship SS City of Milwaukee in Manistee, Michigan. This is the only surviving intact ship that was once captained by a Bay View lake captain, and in its case was captained by at least 2, and likely 3, totaling over 20 years between them. Finally, we also have free self-guided walking tours of Bay View's 71 lake captains' homes, using only your phone. It's simple and easy. Just go to our website shown here, find the item on the menu bar at the upper left named Free Self-Guided Walking Tours, and then scroll down to find the map with instructions. Zoom in by street. When you find a captain's house you're interested in, click on it and details appear on the right, along with a link to the YouTube episode from this channel that provides the biography of the captain that lived there. You can also read about his sailing adventures while living in that particular house by going to the website menu item, Sailing Adventures. These are also included on our website blog. It's free, fun, and available anytime you're out walking. Just bring along your phone. I'm Simon Stanhope, narrator for these episodes. Join us again soon for the next chapter of Bay View, Town of Lake Captains.